And we're back for yet another episode of the Art of UG podcast, where we celebrate the city's vibrant art scene. I'm your girl Maria, and as usual, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Stella.
In this week's episode, we dive into the world of Ugandan multidisciplinary artist Ronald Odur. Odur is known for his mastery and use of aluminium printing plates and copper wires. His work explores themes of identity, power, and social-political dynamics.
We'll explore his creative process, his unique techniques, and what it feels like to represent his country at the Uganda pavilion in this year's Venice Biennale. Stay tuned for an insightful episode with one of today's thought-provoking artists.
So let's art and about.
Saula.
So I know that you grew up, we did a little bit of digging before we got here. And we know that you grew up in Katwe, and that's where you picked up the art.
The use of scrap.
The use of scrap, yeah. So how did your growing up in Katwe influence you? I feel like that's something that's integral to your process. Yeah.
Actually, for me, as you can see, like in the background, like this specific material, which is the aluminum printing plates,
okay.
And this material has been part of me during my childhood. I grew up in Katwe, that suburb, Chisenyi, Zambia, and that place has influenced my work, whereby I used to collect these materials, these printing plates, at Nasarad when I was going to school.
Okay.
For scrap.
Okay.
And then from that, when I became an artist, I reflected back on this same material because it was cheap to acquire and all these things. So it's the same material I've been using for the last 10 years, and I've been exploring it in different perspectives until I have I create a lot of things out of it. Like I used to do I used to emboss the material. I used to paint on the material.
Emboss?
Yeah, hand embossing. And then burn the material. I used to paint on the material. A lot of things. Right now I'm weaving the material. I make sculptures out of the material. But then I won't forget stitching.
Stitching as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we saw that in an installation at the African Gallery.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So stitching it helps me to make 3D objects, which are sculptures.
Yeah.
So I stitch using copper wires, thin copper wires. Yeah.
So this is very much experimental. There's no one that you're looking to and saying, let me borrow from this aluminium artist's techniques. You're basically figuring it out as you go along.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you spoke about your technique of weaving or burning, and I can see obviously we're standing behind something that has been woven so delicately but so beautifully. So how does this help you to express yourself as an artist? The technique, how do you use it to express yourself as an artist?
First of all, the material has given me that kind of platform to express myself.
Yeah.
Because there are certain things I can't do, like paint. I couldn't afford that.
Okay.
Though I can now afford it. But for me, my work is really borrowed. I borrow from my experience. Yeah, majority of my work.
Your lived experience.
Yes, exactly. Now, for example, this work we are standing in is my ongoing piece of work.
Okay.
It is more of a performance, and it's from my experience when I got an accident last year, around April, and I broke my arm. And this work is called the scars on my elbow. I'll show you my elbow with the scars. Yeah, so it's going to be a really dynamic kind of installation, which is going to take different forms. But then performing on this giant mat, it's still not even halfway. Yeah, so from that is another how I express myself as an artist with this material. And then another piece of work which you saw at Afri Art was from an installation I created when I got some issues during the election period.
Okay.
And then I created work out of that. Okay. So that work was confiscated, and then I created work out of that experience I got.
Literally, your work is a It's a collection of your lived experiences. It's a way of, expressing it. Beautiful.
Okay, so you've made a choice to do mostly installation pieces. Does that, how did you arrive at that? Because as an artist, that decision to say that let me just do some stuff that's installation, because I don't feel like this is stuff that you see and is like,
I'm gonna put it in my house.
I'm gonna put it in my house.
Yeah.
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
You could if you have like a big extravagant house. You could put like I could literally see this like in the hallway. Literally.
In the hallway.
Yeah, but it's still a place that you could install work. I feel like it's so grand. It's so
each their own.
you know what I mean? Like in the hallway, but hanging as it is because it's a nice flow.
Okay.
But yes, how do you come to installation? Do you see your work in a particular space?
Actually, for me, I think this kind of like, should I call it ordinary kind of creating art, which whereby
Traditional, let's
Ugandans
call it traditional.
traditional, okay,
Yeah.
where Ugandans like paint on canvas and all these things.
Oh my God.
I find it really quite boring.
Canvas. Okay.
Quite boring, and also I don't like to be limited. I like to be wild, like when I'm creating art.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, I don't want like where I've reached right now in my way of thinking and the way I do my things, because I was controlled a lot in school. We are told to follow, not to think.
Structure.
So when I got out of school, I started breaking the rules by thinking and then creating what I want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember I used to like burn the material and people are like, what are you doing? People are painting, what? And I'm like, for me, I also don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I just started creating my work in my own way. And up to now, I just do what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I first think about me before thinking about the person who's going to view the work.
Okay.
Because if I start thinking about the person who's going to view the work,
It limits you.
it limits me. Like also like when I create a work, is that how they call it? Fulfillment in me. Yeah. So I create from that point also like a fulfillment and expressing myself with my work.
But if you were to advise someone, for example, if someone wanted to buy this installation, right?
Is it for
Where
sale?
do you envisage it? For
Sometimes I just store it,
Yeah.
maybe, and then maybe like we have biennales happening,
Yeah.
maybe other exhibitions.
Yeah.
Maybe they reach out and they're like, "Hey, Odur,
This installation.
we need one of your works," and then I'm like, "I have this installation and this in my storage. Which one do you want?"
Okay.
Yeah, and then they have that. But initially, for me, I don't think about selling my work because that will like get me off track. Like,
As an artist.
yeah. So it is the secondary thing I think about.
Yeah.
Is that a little bit?
No, but
Though we have to survive.
Yes, I was going to say, is it
But
a little bit pretentious?
we figure out how to survive.
Yeah.
Maybe I go back and sell some of the works at scrap. I'm kidding. But,
it's so beautiful.
but we figure out like how to.
Yeah.
Because I also make other smaller works which
Yeah.
can be sold, like the passports,
Like
the prints.
souvenirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
okay.
this work also will have like works that you can collect.
Yeah.
Yeah, like framed works. Yeah, because I also think about that. And I have also to fund, because majority of the time I fund myself, my works I fund them myself. Yeah. So from those little works that I sell, I
You're
use
able
them
to keep the work going.
Yeah, to keep it going. So
Okay, this is a beautiful piece, by the way. I completely love how it flows.
thank you.
Yeah, I love it. And also because it's shiny. It's
Oh.
a shiny thing, so I really love it. Okay. Me and Maria just got back from Venice, where we had the opportunity to visit the Ugandan pavilion at the Venice Biennale. And we had a chance to have a look at your work, which we both agree is one of the most most outstanding, and also in theme with in line with the theme of the exhibition. And of course it's about passports, and here we have the print of the East African passport of the Republic of Cheo. Can you tell us a bit about this and its connection to the Venice Biennale and your participation in general?
Wow. Actually, that passport, the Republic of Cheo. This is a print though, but there is also the
actual passport. Yeah.
Also in copper?
No, this is in aluminium. Yeah, so the work I'm showing at the Biennale is mostly like I used copper.
Okay.
And then brass also.
Okay.
So I created that work when I was in residency at Gasworks in London.
Okay.
And it was quite difficult to acquire like
the materials.
The materials that I normally use.
Do you source them locally?
I had to import from China.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that work was about like how like the scores of each African passport.
Yeah.
And I was just supposing it with the African Union passport.
Do we have an African Union passport?
Yeah, it is there, but it's not yet in use right now. Yeah,
Okay.
like it's there. So I also had.
It's an idea. It exists, but it hasn't been.
It exists, but then it is not yet in use.
Okay.
So I had a chance to work with the African Union in their residency in Dakar.
Okay.
And that's where I also developed another work called the Fabric of Identity, where I suspended like 8 passports. And I'm also showing that work at the Venice Biennale in Senegal next month.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So for me, it gave me like working with the African Union. It gave me like an insight of like one of their agendas, that you have one passport for the entire continent.
Okay.
So for me, that work was really talking about that. Like, if we had like one African passport, it would be much more easier for like the mobility of African people to Europe, actually to traverse the whole world.
Okay.
So that's why I had like scores of each passport, like which country they can go visa free, visa on arrival, without visas, like all these things. Yeah.
And how does the Ugandan passport score?
It's around 76, 75.
Out of
all the countries around the world, like 120 something.
Okay.
I do have a question about this idealized passport theory. I mean, I'm calling it a theory of yours. If we did have that collective passport that allows us to travel freely, all the rules that exist for checking a passport and verifying that a person is from where they say they are and is who they say they are and represents, like, it would be easier to the ease with which the ease to follow up on all that. The idea of a unified passport sort of supersedes how we are as a continent right now, does it not? It has come before we have systems in place that can allow us to have a singular passport. You get?
And you feel like it's ahead of our time?
It's ahead of our time, yeah.
Do you feel like it's ahead of our time?
Do you feel the same? I mean,
I think it is not even ahead of our time because there's a passport I have, the Republic of Totems, where for me, I quite disagree with the idea of the passports because
in entirety.
Yeah, because it's really not accurate, and also because if you're British, let me say, and you hold a British passport and you appear at the airport without pushing out your passport, would you be looked at as a British citizen?
No.
You'll be like, oh, this is an African, right?
Yeah.
But like when we used to like have like us documented in a certain way. They'll be like, this is a Uganda. Okay, this is an African. Yeah. But when like to get to know that you're really an
from
African
from
this specific place, you do the Tamblango Muganda thing, right?
Yeah.
And that is how we are documented. Like, even me, I'm a Langi, but then we have Dogola. Like I come from the Dogola of this person, and then this person, and then this person, and then this person. Yeah. So that is how we are documented, and this is really evident in different cultures. Yeah. Which I'm like, okay, so this is how Africans used to identify themselves. But then now I'm called Odur, who is a Ugandan, and all these things. Yet we have a Luo who is in Kenya, who is still part of me. A Luo who is in South Sudan,
who is also still part of the same ethnic.
Yeah, the Bantu people, like. So,
but geologically.
Yeah.
Okay, so your installation at the Biennale, and the theme was, I think, foreigners everywhere.
Yeah.
So how does your statement with the passports tie in with the theme of foreigners everywhere and what you're trying to advocate for, which is, the united passport? What's the correlation?
For me, I think the idea of foreigners everywhere is like, that is very true and valid.
Okay.
But then the limitation of having the idea of foreigners everywhere is not fair. Because if a person from Europe is traveling to Uganda, it's quite easier for them. But then if Odur is traveling to Europe, they ask me, are you married? Do you have land?
How much money do you have?
How much money? Like, it limits the idea of foreigners everywhere, even though that theme had like a lot of layers in there. rather than just like a human being just going.
So which particular layer were you addressing with your installation?
Like mobility.
The inclusivity that it's supposed to represent is not really represented.
Yeah, exactly. Because, and also at some point I deliberately used like copper because some people are really like, the inclusivity is about their resources, not the human being.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite easier for copper to travel to another place
than it
but
is
then
for
the person who mines the copper, if they want to go there, it's quite difficult.
That's
so
very powerful.
I made an installation at Gasworks with doors and with cotton, like
passing through
this kind of cotton here.
Yeah.
So I had to like make like a cobweb kind of situation and then stack the cotton in there, like to show like all like this cotton, these resources like move everywhere. But then the human being
who are behind getting these resources.
They're stuck.
There's so many
behind
barriers.
There are a lot of barriers. So for me, I was just talking about like mobility, and then like access of like the human beings.
Okay.
That's a very controversial
topic.
Have you got in trouble in any way for any of your? I'm just asking. Have you like met with any like pushback and like for like, oh, you know what you're talking about is a little bit dicey or
political?
Yeah, political.
But with this, I've not yet gotten
with some of your other work, you have.
But some of my other work I have. Yeah.
Okay, but still speaking about the Biennale, aside from the copper, what other materials did you use for the passports, and what is the relevance?
I made another piece with brass.
Okay.
And I was just trying to show how all these passports, if they become one, it is really valuable. Like, so brass has like that shiny element of gold.
Was that that's the one we thought was gold, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
and gold has that kind of like
allure and status and
so that's why I made it to be quite like, even though my work wasn't installed the way it had to be, but
Speaking of installation, right, and the fact that somehow you were not able to attend the Biennale, can you tell us about that and your vision for the installation and your statement to not be there? Because in fact it was a statement. Your refusal to go was a statement that was in line with your work. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, like my refusal to go was like a performance, like to make a statement about that same work. Okay. Because if you have all these scores, and other people have like
higher ranking scores,
higher rankings,
and there's nothing you've done as a person to achieve that score.
This is like representing the whole country.
Yeah.
And then you want me to still
pass through hoops
for a visa, all these things, instead of like, okay, this person is representing the country in this way and this way. They do some background check on you and this and that. And you're like, okay, here is your visa. You can now go, or you bring your passport, this and that. But then passing through the difficulties of
the bureau, the red tape.
Yeah, like I have to give you my bank account statement, all these things. I found it like really unfair to me. I found it really unfair.
But surely, as the Ugandan pavilion, I feel like it's a national pavilion, meaning that there's some involvement from the state or from the government or from the ministry, for example, of gender. Was there no
support?
Was there no support? Because I feel like with the full backing of the Ministry of Gender, things could have gone smoothly, and I mean, you're an artist and you have a vision for how you want your work installed because there's a message you want to tell. Surely there should have been some.
Yeah, actually there are certain things I don't want to talk about, like the involvement of the government and then the national pavilion. I don't want to talk about those things because even though I talk about them, nothing is going to be like to change or it is not going to do anything. It's just talking about it. But the only thing I want to talk about is like art. And what art is doing.
And the message.
Do you feel that do you feel like your installation delivered your point? Do you feel it delivered your point?
I think partially it did.
Partially.
Yeah.
Have you received any word feedback, like how the reception of the installation?
Yeah, there's someone who was moving around Venice, and they were like somewhere very far, and they like there was a talk happening somewhere, and these people were talking about my work, like
from somewhere else where your work was.
Yeah, they're like, there's some artist in the Ugandan pavilion who is talking about this thing and this thing. Like, what do you like? And I'm like, okay. And this person calls me like, hey, we're talking about your work. Some people are talking about your work here, and I'm like, how? And then sometimes I when I'm on like on Instagram or where, then
somebody comes and
and then someone is like, hey, there's this guy Odur Ronald's work in the and then he really talks about this. So like several blogs, like magazines, like they're talking about this work.
Because we can't deny the fact that your work was very powerful. It was very powerful. I feel like if you see the work, it doesn't leave you the same. It gets you thinking about these themes that are not just your lived experience, but also our lived experiences as Africans.
So actually, in one of those installations, which at AfriArt, you had it set up as a homestead, a kind of home kind of setup with, were these supposed to be microwaves or TVs? TVs. The TVs, and like it was a very homely. I think we have some pictures of it. We can show.
Some pictures.
Yeah, it was a very homely looking, setup. And was that your next piece, or was it also part of? It's a different kind of installation from what we saw at the Biennale.
I think that is a little bit different. Yeah, though all my works they connect. Even this work connects, because the initial work that was to be exhibited at the Venice Biennale was confiscated at the airport. Because of some objects they thought they were like something else. So for me, from that experience, I had to recreate this work responding on that, because it really depressed me, like confiscating my work. I want to say something.
It's like being gagged.
Yeah. So for me, that's why I don't know if today is independence. So I was trying to talk about like freedom of expression as an artist. So I had to go back to archives and then borrowed, like when Uganda won its independence, and then juxtapose it with the now, like with the situation I'm in, like where my work is being confiscated, and then my freedom to express myself as an artist. So I had to make like the 90s kind of television.
I love it, by the way.
And
it's very, very nice, very throwback.
And then I had to project like the videos of independence that day.
I do have a counter for that, but I feel like it would be very combative. Like you might. I do have a counter for a lot of your. Have you met? First, have you met with anybody that countered your ideas, the ideas that you put forward in your art, and like argued against you, and then you changed your mind? Like you're like, maybe I could be looking at it from a perspective that is, I don't want to say close-minded, like because of that's like what I know, within what I know. And then somebody gives you a counter position and you're like, let me consider that, and then it affects you. Has that happened?
Somehow, sometimes.
It does? Oh.
Just the
interaction with like
execution of the work, but not the idea, because the idea is really like from an honest point. It's from an experience. It's not like from just like out of the blue, like okay, fine. So that my counter would be that the issues that are raised by the people who maybe like confiscate your work or say that this cannot be, do you think that they are invalid issues? Because sometimes they will cite issues of security. They'll say that this is a security risk. Do you think that's invalid? Like they are valid. They are really valid. But like if they are valid, but then if someone tells me, okay, you're doing this because of this and this, without like really dissecting through everything, and then you understand it, or giving like a statement or something like that, at least to be understandable.
To be clear.
But
did
now,
you have a statement for your work when you sent it away?
No.
So there was a misinterpretation or miscommunication of.
I think it's a miscommunication between the person who was shipping the work. And the people there
that were receiving it.
Because I don't know what transpired between them. I don't know. So for me because like we had like social media attacks, and for me I found that like infringing on my freedom to express myself as an artist. Because we use social media. So like from all those ideas, if you put all those things together, this also like makes it valid for this. You understand?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
and this is also a government thing, like you said, like it's the
Political.
national pavilion.
It's a national pavilion.
Yeah, and then someone is giving you maybe a document with the ministry on it,
Yeah.
but then you still like
Doubt it.
yeah. So
Okay, so your work explores themes of power, identity, access, and some other social, political themes. What particular? Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you're expressing that through the different pieces that you're working with? The themes.
actually, my themes are really like general. I think the most the most theme is power actually.
Okay.
Power, yeah, because power is evident in the passports, in the installations I've been making.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's majorly like power and how power is used.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are you trying to tell us about power? What's your experience with power?
Wow.
Because your installations are in fact like lived experiences.
Yeah. The topic of choice that you've chosen to focus on. And
Yes.
You keep coming back to it, so there must be something scratching at you, saying
And there's no way I'm going to run away
from the
because it has been chasing me.
Yeah. So tell us about power and your work.
Yeah, so power, actually where power was really evident in my work was when I had the experience where during the election period and we were protesting in the city center. At my house, it was at the boundaries of the city center and then its outskirts. And tear gas was just like thrown in in our compound.
Oh my goodness.
Some of them like fell in our houses, and just live ammunitions moving around.
Yeah.
And people were running away from the city center, like in the city center, and for us we were running away from home that time.
Yeah.
So I had to run away from my space that I called private and safe space.
Your sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So during the GLAD festival, I created work responding to that, commenting on that. Yeah, where I recreated my living room space, and I suspended 1,200 aluminium casts of bullet-like objects.
Wow.
And on that, I recreated a dining room setup with an aluminium table and then a mat, chair.
Yeah.
That setup had things on the table where I had a passport on this side and expensive liquors, money and all these things.
all fabricated.
Yeah, in aluminium.
Yeah.
And then I had the other side a television, a 90s television with those red and blue stripes on it. No signal, and then a stone, and then a Bible.
Yeah.
So all these things were really different power dynamics.
Yeah.
Whereby there's power, the other side they have the power with a stone, and then religion, and then the media,
And the
then
money,
this,
yeah.
and then this side.
The expensive stuff.
Yeah, the money traveling everywhere, and how all these two power dynamics
Play into each other.
yeah, for the usage of the bullets, it was a symbol of bullets on top.
Yeah.
It was a really well lit chandelier.
Yeah.
And so these power dynamics, how do they play together and then influence the usage of the bullets?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the tear gas, yeah. So that's how I was talking about power.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what is some of the feedback you've received? Because those themes are they're very strong themes and very, political obviously, but it's something that I feel like we as Ugandans, in most cases, people tend to shy away from things that make them uncomfortable. But here you are, addressing it head on. What is some of the feedback that you've received from the work that you've done?
First of all, you talked about uncomfortable.
No, uncomfortable indeed. Because how many
Actually-
people are, willing to talk about politics like that, or are willing to talk about things that have affected them that deeply, but are also
Yeah, there's certain things I don't want to talk about anyways, but for me, it's really sad, like when you're in your space and things happen.
Indeed.
And how are you going? And you're traumatized at some point.
Yeah.
So how are you going to like unpack that trauma and just throw it away?
Yeah.
And for me, I think through my work, that is where I do that from.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is what gives me courage to talk about these things. And another thing is, I'm not attacking anyone.
Indeed.
I'm just talking about my experience, but in an artistic form.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the way I get the confidence to talk about such issues.
But what about the feedback from the people who view your work?
The feedback? One of the feedbacks are like what you just say, like, oh, you're talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then other people are like have like kind of connecting kind of experiences.
Yeah, because they've lived it too.
Yeah. Like there's a Makerere student who came and was like, man, they were doing this, protesting, and a bullet just passed, like, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, are you for real?
Yeah.
And it's like, yes. And I'm like, okay. Other people, like someone from Rwanda was telling me, like, those days of the genocide situation, like people used to sit like radios and what, and that kind of setup also reminded them of that time.
Yeah, it was very nostalgic.
Yeah.
The way you had it set up.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you think in your future works that you're going to continue explore? I mean, obviously, as long as the inspiration keeps presenting itself, we'll keep talking about it. Do you think you'll ever explore any other different kinds of thematic, persuasions? Like, will you always be a politically inspired creature, or do you hope to soften?
Like the work I'm working on right now.
Because you're actually working with very hard
materials.
Hard materials. You
But-
talk about hard subjects. You're a very hard guy.
I don't know.
Where is the room for softness?
I don't know, like where, but right now, even the work I'm creating right now is not that much like state kind of political.
Okay, so this is like work in the works.
Yeah.
You're working on something right now?
Yeah. So I have a body of work called The Art of Offense.
Yeah.
And all these political kind of works you're talking about, they're in that body of
Within
work.
that body.
Yeah. Then the other body of work is the Republic of this and that,
Okay.
which has the passports in it. Yeah. Then I have another body of work. Which one is that? I don't even remember now.
Yeah.
What are you
So many
currently
things.
working on right now?
Currently, I'm working on the Scars of My Elbow, which is a performance piece, making like almost half a field of an aluminium woven mat.
Wow.
And I intend to perform it. Like I want to collaborate with music, classical music, like choirs.
Yeah.
I want to do like performance, like I want all these things to be like happening in the community, because this work is about community.
Yeah.
And healing, and how the interconnectedness between like the community and art and healing
And our everyday lives, really. Right?
Yeah. So just imagine an orchestra performs at Sheraton, the Serena, a border guy can go there.
This is definitely
So,
different from what you normally.
So I'm bringing the orchestra in the community, like in
Breaking the
market.
barriers.
Yeah.
Oh, have you already have it lined up, or it's
Yeah,
official?
it's I'm
It's
working
coming
on
together.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm working on
We
that.
look forward.
I don't know why I'm talking about these things here. That's
Okay,
what I'm doing.
okay, that's a sneak peek into what you're working on.
Sneak peek,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like that will be something definitely
To
out
look
for.
forward to.
Yeah.
So when should we expect this to?
in January.
In January. Okay, there's
That's
enough
very
time.
soon.
Yeah.
Though I believe another performance might happen earlier.
Okay.
We'll keep our ear to the ground.
Yeah.
As soon as we hear any movement, we'll be like, oh, it's time to rouse.
Yeah. But
This work is really going to be like really metamorphosizing into different like
Different
things. Yeah.
We're allowing it to go where it
Yeah. I'm going. I also intend to just take it like on the streets, and then people just walk on it, just doing their own stuff.
interactive.
Are you in your what's this guy's name? Banksy era. Banksy era.
Are you in your Banksy era?
Yeah.
You know, Banks is really like mysterious. And
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'll ask for permission, like
Yeah.
from the security
Authorities,
people,
eh?
Oh,
authorities.
that's a refreshing change of pattern for you.
No, like I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
No,
but in my work,
You're just
I
loud.
want to rebel.
No,
An
he just
artist
wants to
is-
speak.
Yeah, I want to speak. Like if I'm in my studio I don't think I have to ask for permission to create that work.
That's
true.
But this is a public space, so I have to inform this.
Because,
Okay, but let's talk about a little bit. Let's go back a little bit to the Biennale, and how has it impacted your career? Has it impacted your career at all? Like showcasing at something that's so prestigious, has it sort of impacted your career?
Doors.
And
Opening some unexpected doors.
And windows.
Has it?
Yeah, like it's not an everyday thing for someone to go and be part of the Biennale.
The Biennale,
Like international stage.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, it's really something really big, if I would say, the art scene.
Yeah.
Both internationally and locally.
Yeah.
Because I believe now, like Uganda, this is the second time Uganda is
Being
Sorry.
invited,
We have the pavilion for the second time.
So it also adds something onto your CV, and other opportunities come in, and also you're looked at as like, okay, this artist is serious.
Legit.
Yeah.
This is somebody that we have
Though I
to
don't know
watch
if
out
I'm
for.
serious. I don't know.
I mean,
I still think
We definitely feel you're serious.
We feel like
We came
serious.
all the way to see you.
Okay.
We saw your work. We were like,
because
who
I've
is
been
this
playing
guy?
a lot in my work.
No, but as you should. Like life shouldn't be so.
Yeah.
You have to.
Anyways, I don't
Breathe.
I don't live a serious kind of life. I'm serious, but not
Not
the other kind of serious.
And yet your work is serious.
Who is going to put on an aluminium shoe? Who is going to use an aluminium?
No, but it's what it
I mean,
represents.
don't
though.
give people
It's
ideas.
not, but it's also what it represents, right?
So I'm playing.
You're not playing. You are saying something very smartly. You're saying something.
Okay.
So
Artistic, creative.
yes,
Okay.
yes, creative.
Okay, let me take it that way.
Yeah.
But the Biennale has been something amazing for me, though. Like the display of my work was really something off for me.
Yeah.
And people are having different views onto the work, which is really sad.
Yeah.
I read something and they're talking about America, slavery, what onto my work. I've never experienced slavery, and we are in East Africa.
Yeah.
It's West Africa majority of it, and
Coastal
yeah.
countries that mostly felt the brunt.
Yeah. So for me, I don't know if I can start talking about slavery. Like from which point, I don't even know.
It's not
Yeah.
lived experience as such.
Yeah, and
Not
also,
directly, anyway, not firsthand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been to the US, and I don't know, like, but someone is talking about the US and talking about like my works are like the passports are 65 or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'll share with you like that. And I'm like, yeah, like what is this about?
There were some
What was the
misinterpretation.
vision though? What was your vision in terms of installation? What was your vision?
Yeah, so I wanted like the 54 passports to be juxtaposed alongside the African Union passport.
Okay.
And that is the story. So I don't know which story. That is the reason that's why anyways people write.
So it was supposed to be like some kind of equation.
Yeah.
Like this should equal
This, yeah. And at some point I was just going to maybe right there, like Odur couldn't come here, like in one of he
Odur
couldn't
was
get
not here.
because he couldn't get his visa,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
I almost wrote something like
Yeah.
that, but then I was like, okay, let me just use a
Like you
Luganda kind of like
Yeah.
kudda okutambula kulaba kudda kunyumya naye ate tunanyumya biki nga tetusobola kufuna visa.
Yeah.
I believe
So
you saw that.
translation, yeah, we did, we saw it,
We saw
and
that.
we actually kept using that phrase a lot of
lot
it
of
became our
times.
catchphrase after that, after seeing the installation.
But also I think if it was really installed the way it had to be,
Yeah.
it was just going to give you like the instant eye,
Instant,
like,
yeah, immediately, and
Yeah.
you don't need to stress. Like, oh, tell me a little bit about
actually
this,
different
tell me a
layers
little bit about that.
of ideas, like why is this like it's like actually like bringing up like questions.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be initiating like questions, like
starting conversations.
yeah, starting really amazing conversation whereby why are they all like this, and then
Yeah.
this one piece is like this, why are they all like this?
Yeah, and it's a pity that, you know, again, like I said, these conversations are, while it brings them up after some explanation, it's a pity that it happens at the back of the room. You know what I mean? Like, it's all these things, the conversations we have under the table. Like, you know, we'll grumble about the power of our passport, but we do it like, you know, at home. Let's just, you know, how could they do this? How could no one is coming out to actually put it at the front in your face, and yet it's a lived thing.
I think it goes back to the passport, the Republic of Chile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We come back.
Because everyone wants to just, they're looking for greener pastures. We
Yeah.
never think about like the passport and the power of it.
Yeah.
We're just like, I want to go to that country. I'm going to find all ways
To go.
So
Yeah,
basically,
that's-
your key is elsewhere.
Yeah, you don't think about that little book.
Yeah,
But
the
if we
value
start
of it,
thinking
yeah.
about the book and then, hey, wait a minute, this book can only go here and here and
Yeah.
here. How are we changing this?
Yeah, yeah.
And also,
Its limitation.
yeah, like someone wants to go to another place. It's because they don't appreciate what is happening where they're coming from.
Exactly.
So maybe let's work on where we come from. Maybe those other people will also start appreciating us, and we also put stringent rules
Yeah,
on
really.
entering our country.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe.
got it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
They already appreciate, but the stringent rules
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
actually check.
Yeah. So if we do that, maybe we will have to we will
Like
start
something.
thinking about
Yeah.
thinking about like this book also has to do this.
We can change the narrative.
Yeah. Just imagine, because in Africa we have majority of the resources.
Yeah.
If you close Africa out of the equation, like if you remove it out of the equation,
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to suffer. So if you have those rules, like stringent rules, right, and you're not like depending on anyone, then your currency or what everything is going to like appreciate. Yeah.
Something to think about.
That's
Maybe
what
we should
Yeah.
have you as the next head of the African Union.
Yeah, could
Cowboy.
be. Would be an
An
interesting.
artist.
You're an
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a little bit of a political fighting spirit in you.
Yeah.
So I'd be willing to back you. And
No, like the only thing I can say is artists like document the times they're in. So
yeah,
Yeah,
That's
No,
true.
it's really important to also bring artists to the table when discussing policy and things like this. I think it's a fresh perspective.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
it's an optimist. Most of the time, it's actually usually an optimistic perspective.
Yeah.
Except in
and also, art never makes sense if it doesn't have some
context.
not even like if it doesn't have some, how they call it, if it doesn't have,
It's not coming from somewhere.
not even that, like if it is not talking about something like revolutionary or something related to that. Yeah,
Sorry?
it's just
Art
about
doesn't
vibe.
have.
If it doesn't have some revolutionary aspect to it, it doesn't make
Wow.
sense. Just like,
So
I'm going to
people
give you
who
an
are-
example.
People who are drawing butterflies are, you're dismissing them?
Not necessarily, but I
It's-
mean, like you could look at it in a different way because, okay, butterflies, yes, but like, you know, the evolution of the butterfly, because it doesn't start as a butterfly, right? So it could also reflect like inner change because you come off as a, what do they call it, like a,
Oh, it comes from the lava. The
yes,
pupa,
it
the
grows.
cocoon.
You know, the whole process. It's a transition, kind of like a revolution, anyway. But we're not talking about revolutions. But you know what I mean? It's about interpretation. So the revolution, I suppose, is there in all art, right?
Yeah, like you see the water lilies.
Yeah.
What is the name of that artist? I've forgotten the name. The revolution was the kind of way they are painting,
Yeah.
like the landscape kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So not in a literal sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if art doesn't have that aspect in them, then it is just only vibes.
Yeah.
Just like I'm a piano.
On that note,
Thank you.
thank you so much for your time. And where should we, like, you know, people who want to follow your work, where can we find your work?
You can find my work in my studio. No, I'm kidding. You
Are we
can
welcome
find-
to come any day
No,
and just
no,
pop
no,
in?
no.
No? Inspire you?
My work, I'm inspired by my experiences. So maybe you'll influence.
Okay.
Probably.
It's
Okay.
like telling me like which artist inspires you.
Yeah.
There's no artist that inspires me.
Yeah.
They just influence my work.
Okay.
They influence me. Yeah.
Okay.
You
can.
really like giving very loaded answers.
No, like,
It's an artist.
I'm not inspired by any artist.
yeah. No one. Is,
Yeah.
yeah. I would have been creating work about them. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can find my work on Instagram, Odur Art, like
Okay.
ODURART.
Okay.
Yeah. From there you'll find other things.
Other things.
So from Venice, we should expect to see you in Dakar.
Yeah.
Okay, how long will you be showing in Dakar for?
I don't remember, but I believe like 1 month or 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anybody interested in
Venice,
seeing
yeah.
a little bit more of Odur's work, you can head on to Dakar. And if you're going to Dakar, please let us know. We'll send you with our cameras.
Yeah. Oh, we might even join. We might even join.
We might even join. We cannot get enough of all this. Like, it's very nice to be close to the danger.
And you don't need visas.
And we don't need visas. So there you have it. So for everybody that's an art lover, art enthusiast that wants to see something different, get on that plane.
Yeah. You can also follow her from What's Studios on Instagram.
Yeah. They also have a solid presence on Instagram, so you can find them.
Okay, thank you. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Art and About UG. Thank you, Odur, for sharing your creative process with us.
If you enjoyed that episode, follow Odur on his social media on Instagram for more stories and for more of the artworks to follow. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow us on all our social media platforms for more stories from the art world.
Until then, come for the art.
Stay for the story. Bye.